Shannon. I work at the outpatient full care services upstairs for mental health. And a couple people made a comment about my topic. And so I'll tell you how the topic gets started. I have a daughter who's just turned 28 years old. She's in restaurant management. And she was working up until last month when she quit her job. She was working and had been for the last 5 or 6 years, 12 to 16 hours every day. Occasional time off, occasional vacation. But what I discovered was, as I was talking with her, everything she talked about was work. Well, that's the only thing she was doing, right? and I would say, what about the rest of your life? And she would just go back to work. And about the rest of your life. And she'd be all stressed out. And so I started doing more research because I realized she's all stressed out because that's all she has right now. And she realized that was becoming more of a problem too, and so it's made some life changes. So that was kind of what prompted the topic. So what I'd like you to do is, you have some paper and pencil there, make a list of 5 things you highly value. 5 things that you highly value. The number isn't so important. If you have 4 things, that's fine, or 6 things, that's fine. If you can't cut down, that's fine too. But 5 things that are really important to you. And if you notice on here, there's a motorcycle on the heading. That's because that's my passion. And that's what I do for fun in the summertime. And this is a picture of my husband and I. And this happens to be in Cherokee, South Carolina, on a motorcycle trip on the Parkway. And I keep this picture in my office because sometimes we have winters that are cold and dreary. This winter we can't complain too much, right? Okay. But it's easy for me to, in a stressful day, to look over and remember it. Remember the riding on the bike, the wind, the sun, okay, the smells, the sights. Okay. All those play into making me feel relaxed. And so when I have a stressful day, I can look over there and very quickly decompress and feel much better. And so I recommend for people to do that too. Have pictures of something that's really important to them. What I did was I asked staff to provide for me a couple of pictures of things that were really important to them. This is Rosemary Fisher. And she has hiking with her son. She's on a mission trip up here, and that was very recent. And then, of course, the house safety. And one of my colleagues has also a similar passion for motorcycles. This is actually, I just asked her, this was actually at the Harley Museum, so she just being silly there, and that's okay. This is some of her group. The things that are important to her. And how many of you watch Shark Tank? A couple of you, okay. So you'll recognize Barbara Corcoran as you.
There's no such thing as work-life balance. People who are really driven to build a business are workaholics. They hyper-focus on what they do. They pour their heart and soul into it. How are they going to find balance? Do they go home and they're also a super mom, a super dad? Impossible. How did I learn that? Because I had my first baby at 46. From the time I was 22 and started my business to 46, I was kind of like a guy. I did whatever I wanted. And once I became a mom, the whole game changed. I was divided, drawn, and quartered. Had sibling rivalry between my business and my kids, and also the sibling rivalry played out in my own mind every day of the week. I wasn't good enough at home, I wasn't good enough at work. Let me tell you, there's no such thing as balance. All you can do is chop your 2 worlds in half. My morning routine is basically taking care of everybody else's needs. It's not until I walk in the door of the office at about 8:45, boom, that I get my world going. I attend to everything that has to do with my business and any of the miniature things that I take care of in my personal life. Because once you're a mom and you're juggling two things, you don't have any time of your own. So I find the time of my own in the office from 9 o'clock on. In the morning, I either work out before my kids get up, I'm making breakfast, I'm making sure their homework is signed off on, their bag is packed, they're going out the door. I've answered my son's email from college of what he wants that day. All you can do is divide your work. My kids don't call me at work. My husband doesn't call me at work. Okay, they know, don't call me at work unless you're dying. Right? And I don't think of my kids when I'm at work. I do that when I'm at home. And that's the way I deal with it. There's no such thing as balance.
So here's her story and what she does. And as healthcare workers, what I find is that we're really good about taking care of other people and their needs and their health issues. Not so good about taking care of our own, are we? So if you develop a fairly healthy work-life balance, or as she very clearly put it, there is no such thing. So I prefer integration as might be a more appropriate kind of term, work-life integration. Our work is part of our life. And we don't drop the fight we have with our husbands so easily and we leave it at the door. We carry it with us throughout the day, right? Okay? Or difficulties with our kids or financial worries or whatever. They're part of us. We carry them with us. Okay? You learn to balance that well. You have reduced stress levels, greater focus and concentration, higher levels of job satisfaction, opportunity to participate more fully in family and social life, more time for personal goals and hobbies, and improved health. So this have a really good health benefit. Let's look at what work-life balance is not as part of defining it, because I think that's important. It's not an equal balance, like she said. And we have this seesaw-looking picture under here, okay? But really, that's not what happens. And if you think of how many of you played on a seesaw when you were a kid, that was a pretty boring position to be in, right? Okay? You either wanted to be up or you wanted to be down. Okay? And when it got that way, you were kind of bouncing to get it to move, right? So it's not an equal balance. No perfect one-size-fits-all. Yours is going to be different than mine. Okay? The person beside you is going to be different than yours. Okay? It's very individual, and it is important that you develop some kind of integration with that. Your best work-life balance is even going to vary over the course of time. Okay? When you first graduate from college, start your career, you're really highly focused on what you're doing, eager to learn, eager to really just make that your focus, and then you get your relationship maybe, and you get married, and then you have children, and everything changes, doesn't it? Okay? Because now you're trying to juggle more things. Okay? So that changes. It may change on a daily basis. Okay? But it certainly changes over the lifetime too. Even on a daily basis, it can vary. Meaningful daily achievement and enjoyment in each of the 4 areas of your life: work, family, friends, and self. Okay? Achievement, we all know what achievement is, it's what we do. Okay? Enjoyment, some resources also call it fulfillment. Okay? That's more who we are, our state of being. And so those two things have to be together in order for us to be comfortable in a situation. Enjoyment is not the ha-ha happiness, it's pride, satisfaction, celebration, love, sense of well-being, and spirituality. We'll look at brief history. In the 1960s and 70s, this was primarily just an issue for working moms. Okay? And so there were things put in place to try to help with working moms. By the 1980s, Merck and IBM jumped on board, and these terms you're really familiar with: maternity leave, EAP, flex time, home-based work. Those are things that all of us have some familiarity with, because they've been around for, they've been around for a while. But also during that time period, this became an issue for men. It wasn't just a women's issue anymore. And so in the 1990s, then companies developed family-friendly policies. But what they discovered from those is those don't impact real life, work-life balance. Okay, it was a one-sided approach. Organizational policy and benefits and impact on how the individual affects the organization versus how organization affects the individual. I gave you an example in a previous place where I worked. The director of nursing had this wonderful idea. She was going to try to reduce employee absenteeism because of children being sick. Again, it's a hospital, so she had a PEDS unit, and so part of what would happen was you would have to call in sick if your child was sick, or call off. You could still attend work for your child, and they would care for your child there. Okay? So what do you think of that as you first heard that? Because my first thought was, oh wow, what a novel idea. But what happened? Let's see, what's a guess of what happened? The program didn't work. Why didn't it work? Anybody have an idea? Easier to do with home, but it's mom.
You're gonna go up to the floor to see your kid instead of doing the job that you need to be doing.
Okay. Well, that was part of what was built in, so you could do that on your breaks. Because that was part of the good part about it. But as a mom, when my kid was sick, I wanted to be home with her, right?
You want to nurture.
Yeah. My desire to nurture was much stronger, and so the program didn't prove to be very effective. On the surface, it sounded like a good idea, but it didn't really need the psychological needs we have very naturally. So that's an example of how those kind of programs were effective. Just some simple stats: Americans work longer, an average of 41 hours per week. Someone else told me that's not even close. I work a lot more than that. Okay. Work weekends, 29.2%, and work nights, 26.6%. So a lot of the time, a third of our lives are spent at work. So go back to your list of 5 things. 5 things that you highly value. And how much time and energy are you putting into those other things in your life? Something to think about. And so these are some strategies that you can look at to begin to develop some of this balance idea. Integration. Okay, so track your time for 1 week. I know that seems like a real laborious task, because it is. Okay? How many of you have been to the dietitian and what they wanted you to do is track what you ate, or the diet program? They want you to track everything you ate in 1 week. How many have done that? Okay. And what happens when you do that?
You eat less.
You eat less, okay? Because you don't want to have to write it down, right?
Or you lie.
Or you lie. But it makes you very conscious about what you're doing, what you're putting in your mouth. Okay? And so this is the same kind of idea. Track your time for 1 week, in which you're very conscious about what you're doing. Okay? Determine your priorities. We've written down 5 things that you value highly. So what are you doing with those? Okay? How much of those are related to work? How much of those are related to home life? What's important while you're at work? Okay, you heard her say she has to get calls from her family when she's at work, unless there's an emergency. Okay? Good policy, right? I don't answer texts from friends and family while I'm at work. And I take care of work when I'm at work. Right? It helps you keep work engaged. Set specific goals. Okay? What do you, out of those 5 things, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to get better at? What do you want to do more of? Okay. And block time into your schedule. Now, we're really good about when we see people, we make appointments, right? When we go to the doctor, we make appointments. So when you get a hair done, we make appointments. And yet we're not so good when it comes to saying you value your marriage, but you don't make appointments to spend time together. How many of you do date nights? Okay, a lot of you do date nights, okay? We used to make a big deal about doing date nights, now we make big deals about doing date nights, right? Because we know how important that is. Okay? Same with spending time with your kids. When you call appointments or date nights is not important. The important thing is you spend time with them. So whatever is important to you, making sure you're getting that in your schedule. I encourage clients to block off leisure time. Okay? If that means you're doing nothing but meditating, or just relaxing, or just reading a book, okay, or listening to music, if that's something you really value, put it in your schedule. Okay? My husband used to work this crazy swing shift on his schedule earlier on in my marriage, and we wouldn't have hardly any time together. And so we would block out Saturday mornings. Saturday mornings were our time, okay? And people knew not to call us. We weren't going to answer the phone. We weren't going to go places with them during that time. That was just our time. And what we did with that time was our choice. Okay? And sometimes it was just sitting there having coffee. Okay? But it was our time, and the people that were important in our life knew that. Okay? Establishing boundaries at home and work. Okay? Like Barbara said, family doesn't call her at work. Okay? But when you get at home, how much are you allowing work to interfere with home? Okay? Now, if you've had a real stressful day, this is my husband and I, we'll talk about work for 5 minutes or so, which has been an average day. Okay? If it's been pretty stressful, I might need 20 minutes. Okay? But I'll say, look, I had a real stressful day, I just need to decompress a little bit. 20 minutes will be fine. And then I'm done talking about work. Because you're still bringing work home if you talk about it over and over and over again. So that's a way to set a limit. Okay, to contain that, all that stress that you have with you. Take care of your health. Again, if you think of yourself as a bank account, you have to make deposits. Ideally, you need more deposits and withdrawals. You control, right? So your diet, getting enough sleep, getting a little bit of exercise, taking care of your physical body. Nurturing family relationships. How many of you do family meals with your kids? You sit around the table, not in front of the television, and you talk without phones, right? That's become a pretty rare occurrence these days. So that's why I recommend you do that to nurture family relationships too. And I know that changes as kids get older too. By the time our kids were teenagers and involved in sports, it may be 9, 10 o'clock at night before we could sit down together to eat. And maybe run through a drive-thru and pick up a pizza, okay? Or have sandwiches. But it's more important that we spend at least 15, 20 minutes sitting down together and eating. Make time for your spirituality. Okay? Daily and weekly. Spending some time, just quiet time, reading time. Just allowing yourself to be still. That's important. Okay, leaving work and work. So I've had a busy day at work, I'm stressed out, I had a client that was really acting out, or I'm really worried about, and I have a half-hour commute. How many of you live really close? 10 minutes or less? Okay. I'm sorry. So you have to find creative ways to kind of take care of your commute so that by the time you get home, you're not at work anymore. Okay? So you might want to stop and do errands if you live close. Maybe run through the grocery store and pick up something, or stop and do something minor, something simple. It's enough to get your gas when you're going home, or whatever. Those kind of little errands help stop that thinking, help redirect it. I have a half-hour commute, so that's a time when I can crank up the music and sing. Okay? And you guys are all really be grateful that I just do that in the car. Okay? So let's see. listen to music. Or if there's a really good talk show on, if it's late enough, something maybe something like that. Put in your CD and listen to, sometimes I listen to a teaching. So doing those kind of things, a half hour commute is a good commute to really decompress, maybe even have longer. So what are some of the things you might do on your way home so that you could get away from work and do anything? I'm discouraged talking on the phone. Sometimes people do that. So work smarter, not harder. And again, you'll find out what some of those are if you're doing that. If you're tracking for a week, how you're spending your time. You'll find out maybe some ways where you could be a little more wiser in your job, cut down some of the downtime. Keeping a positive attitude. Watch your rational thinking. Sometimes when we have a stressful day, we think, oh, everything's bad. Now, that doesn't help us think that everything's bad. That moment may not feel good. But if you look, you can find something in your day that's probably okay, right? Or in your week. And enlist a good support system. That's at home and at work. Have a good support system at work where if you have a bad patient or a difficult patient, something that's really worried you or stressed you out, you can kind of run by them, and so you calm down some before you leave. So you have a place that's confidential where you can let some of that go. Same thing with home, good support system with your friends, outside friendships. So you have a place to take some of your other stresses there, okay? So you don't carry all that on you. That's really important that you're taking good care of yourself. You're working in very stressful situations. Your attention really needs to be focused on who you're taking care of, and so it's really important that you, when you're not here, you're taking care of yourself and adding to that emotional bank account, physical bank account. So that analogy has always helped me kind of keep on top of things because I need to make sure I get enough deposits. And a motorcycle ride, sometimes a 30-minute motorcycle ride would be the best thing for me to make those deposits. So that's what you have to decide, is what helps you make deposits. Okay. So here's some more pictures. Here's my husband and I after zip lining. This is Joy, she loves to ski. And these are her grandchildren. This is Diane with her grandchildren. You see how the value in what we value, the things we value in life changes over the course of time. And this is one of their vacations. So what do you do for work-life balance? Anybody want to share? Anything you do? And when you look at your list of priorities that you wrote down when you first came in, how are you integrating these? Thank you.
Before you leave, if you would complete the evaluation form, and then those at the door on your way out.